We good?
Yep.
I will call the April 21st Plan Commission meeting order. Mr. Martinez, please call the roll.
Mayor Olson,
I'm here.
Commissioner Hogan is absent. Commissioner Butthart.
Here.
Commissioner Haley.
Here.
City Engineer Glenn Morrow.
Here.
Alderwoman Henneman is absent. Commissioner Leon.
Here.
We have a quorum. Please rise and join the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait for everybody to get up. You always start too fast. Okay, first item on the agenda is item B1, approval of the regular meeting minutes of April 7th. Any additions or corrections? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Leon and Burkhart. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is item C1, public hearing on a natural resource special exception by fiduciary real estate development for a multifamily apartment complex on South 27th Street. Mr. Eddie, you have a meeting notice to read.
Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, April 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Common Council Chambers at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132, to take public comments regarding the application by Fiduciary Real Estate Development Incorporated on property owned by CCM-9801 27th Franklin LLC, requesting approval of a special exception to natural resource feature provisions to permit the disturbance of the following: 671 square feet of wetland, including 528 square feet of temporary impacts and 142 square feet of permanent impacts, 8,018 square feet of wetland buffers, including 4,990 square feet of temporary impacts and 30,028 square feet of permanent impacts, and approximately 27,935 square feet of wetland setback, including 24,251 square feet of temporary impacts and 3,684 square feet of permanent impacts. With proposed impacts to both young and mature woodland, which impacts do not exceed the protection standards of the Unified Development Ordinance. The applicant is proposing mitigation measures for wetland resources and for young woodland impacts. This proposal is for property located at 9801 South 27th Street and 9605 South 29th Street, located in the B4 South 27th Street Mixed-Use Commercial District. Tax key numbers 902-996-5006 and 902-9966-001. This public hearing is being held pursuant to the requirements of Section 15-9.0110, applications for a special exception to natural resource feature provisions, and Section 15-10.0208, special exceptions to natural resource feature provisions of the City of Franklin Unified Development Ordinance. A map showing the property effective, full legal description, the application, all supporting materials are available for review and may be obtained from the City Clerk by way of request. The Department of City Development at Franklin City Hall, 9229 West Loomis Road, Franklin, Wisconsin, 53132 during normal business hours. The public is invited to attend the public hearing to provide input.
Here's we have a properly noticed public hearing. Mr. Martinez, you're going to give us the highlights. Mr. Reddy.
I'll give the highlights.
Thanks.
Subject property is located on South 27th Street, a couple hundred feet south of Ryan Road. It's right at the border of Franklin and Oak Creek. This is the former Nature's Nook property, which previously Plan Commission had approved the site plan and the Common Council had approved the special use to accommodate the 252 proposed units. I'm not sure this is working. Yeah, why don't you do that? This is the submitted natural resource protection plan. This identifies all the resources on the property and those that are impacted. The areas shown in red are areas proposed impacts to the woodland area. The wetlands is the area that runs through the middle from southwest to northeast. Northeast is facing bottom. The wetland complex is, the major part of the wetland complex is the large area of green in the lower right part of the screen. Most of that is, none of that in fact is proposed for impact by this project. None of that is proposed for impact with this project. The two areas of impact are the, okay. Yeah, lovely. All right, let me do this. The proposed areas of impact to the wetlands are in there and also up in there. Those wetland impacts were previously approved by the DNR under a general wetland permit, general permit for disturbance. The rest, okay, all right, okay. The areas of buffer impact are primarily related to these areas here and in this area, as well as some area over through in this area and that place. And then there are setback impacts along the border here, primarily for the installation of the stormwater basin to be located in there. There's also some impact into this location here, again, for another stormwater basin. Next screen. The applicants did provide alternatives in their analysis. This was part and parcel of the application they filed with the DNR for the general permit. They provided 4 alternatives. The one in the upper, this area was the original proposal for 276 units with a total impact of 0.23 acres. They were required to provide additional alternatives. They did do so, one where they had no wetland impacts and would have been resulting in 104 units, which they basically indicated in their analysis was basically economically infeasible. This project would have resulted in 0.01 impacts and would have crossed in roughly the same general locations, but would have had 208 units, which would have been marginally beneficial or marginally financially feasible. And so the end result was the one that was selected, which was only a difference of 0.005 acres of wetland impact increase over this version, just a slightly wider impact but shorter, and resulted in an additional 44 units. That's the one that the DNR actually authorized. Next screen. The applicant's restoration plan includes a series of appropriate types of seed mixes and plantings in the wetland buffer and area through here and then around and through here, as well as the preparation of a conservation easement to be located basically around the wetlands and in this area, including the mitigation areas. They have provided more than enough mitigation area for the disturbance levels that they've requested. The typical standard is 1.5 to 1, and their wetland buffer mitigation was something like 20 to 1 or something like that. It was way over what was minimum necessary. The Environmental Commission reviewed this application on March 23rd and recommended recommended approval of the standards decision of findings with the request with a series of relatively small conditions which are fairly standard for this kind of application. I'm available for questions.
And now comes the opportunity for the applicant to provide us a brief description.
Fiduciary real.
Do it again, David.
Yep, no problem. Thanks. Thank you for the opportunity for being here this evening. My name is David Farrell from Fiduciary Real Estate Development, 789 North Water, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I think he did a great job of outlining where we started on this project related to our impacts with the DNR, and then ultimately where we have gotten to. I think we've done a phenomenal job with working with the DNR and city staff on bringing the best plan to light and having the minimal amount of impacts that we can to provide an economically feasible project for us. So with that, I probably don't really have much more to add.
Okay, very good. Thank you, David. With that, I will open the public hearing on this matter. Is there anyone wishing to speak on the matter? Yes, ma'am. Give us your name and address, please. And we need to swear you in. Hold on.
Raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Attorney Valerie Johnston. I'm of Perkins Coie LLP. I represent the property owner immediately to the north of this property. It's 9575 South 27th Street. The property owner's name is Franklin Hotel Company, LLC.
Go ahead.
So my client has minimal comments at this point, but we would like to object to the extent and only to the extent that there's any impact on the drainage on my client's site to the north. Based on the site plan that we're looking at now on the screen, there's also impacts to a gravel road where my client accesses the drainage swale on its property. So to the extent there are any issues, and we understand that plans, drainage plans, civil plans have not been submitted to the city, we'd like only to take this time to let the commission know that we will look forward to working with the city and working with the developer through this process.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And can you make sure that, well, the staff's got your information. Anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Anyone else?
Hi.
Ms.
I'm,
DeSimone, you're going to need to be
Jean-
sworn. So
Pardon?
you're going to need to be sworn. City attorney will help you through this.
Please raise your right hand. You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Please state your name and address for the record.
Jean DeSimone Seeger, 9651 South 31st Street. And I'm just, first of all, I was wondering, I did send a letter to you earlier. I didn't know if you all read it or not. You read it, but yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just wondering, is there any way that you could work this design so that you don't have any impact on the wetland at all? Like, could you go taller and not have it be such a, expanse of space? And in my letter, I said that you have an outdoor swimming pool, but you still have to go through the wetland here. So, yeah, is there any way that you could work this design so that you could avoid affecting the wetland at all? Because even with mitigation, as far as I understand, with mitigation, you don't exactly get the original wetland that you would have. You can answer that for me. Thank you.
Okay. We generally don't answer questions at public hearings. It's our opportunity to
can bring it up
listen,
afterwards.
but we can talk with the applicant later about it. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this matter? Anyone else? Seeing no one else rise, I will close the public hearing on this matter. Questions from the commission, and perhaps we can go back and look at the alternatives again. Any questions from the Plan Commission? Mr. City Engineer.
At the site plan discussion, it was noted that you have sidewalks and walks coming out to 27th Street and kind of just stopping right there. The discussion was that, you didn't mind putting sidewalks in, but how would you do it without affecting the wetlands? So staff had a discussion with the DOT a week ago, and I forwarded some information to Chris Carr, just kind of indicating what DOT was willing to accept. And then yesterday, DOT actually sent a letter regarding your access that required pedestrian, bicycle ped accommodations in addition to cross-access issues. So I guess the question is, these calculations on the wetlands, how does that affect if you were to comply with the DOT and meet their requirements for access?
So we have not, we just started the preliminary process with the DOT, submitting our traffic study and our numbers to them. They came back to us, like you said,
Yesterday.
2 days ago, with their recommendations and conditions for permit. So we have not had an opportunity to draw those requirements as of yet to understand the full impact of what that will mean. Chris, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that. We will have a requirement for a dedicated right turn lane into our development. And that's where that's going to be taking up a good amount of space in the front of our development that would have been contemplated that could have allowed that sidewalk. But we still have more drawing to do to understand what that full impact might be given their requirements.
So let me ask this in maybe a little bit different way. It was noted that mitigation is more than sufficient for the amount of area that you're impacting,
Mhm.
how much buffer would you have? That buffer is a bad word. How much additional area could you take up and still be within the rules to meet DNRs?
I think actually the mitigation requirements are more based upon the city ordinances than the DNR. The DNR is usually a fee and lieu type, pay for what you have impacted so that they can create it somewhere else. But the city's ordinance is what required us to create mitigation areas on our site. And I think as Heath pointed out, we have far exceeded the requirement in the UDO for mitigation.
Can you quantify far exceeded?
I think we were at 99,000 square feet, and our mitigation was somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,000 or 5,000 square feet that we needed, something like that. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Okay.
very significant. Yeah.
I also want to point out, I've got the NRPP on here, the delineated wetland. And I verified this with the DNR's surface data viewer, surface water data viewer. The delineated wetland, basically, the way it's configured now because of the changes to South 27th Street over the decades, the wetland basically stops at the right-of-way. So if they don't have to go outside the right-of-way to put the sidewalk in, they won't be in the wetland, which means there won't be a DNR issue. Now, I don't know that necessarily we can per se require a buffer zone in the middle of a right-of-way. I would tend to say no.
No, but it's nice to know that wetlands stop at the right line.
Yeah.
Chuckle,
So,
chuckle.
We can always try.
yeah, you could.
That was a joke.
Okay. I'm done.
Okay. Anyone else? No? Yeah, can you go back and look at the alternatives analysis, please?
Down one. Yeah. This is what the applicant provided the DNR as part of their general permit evaluation process. They worked with Ryan Pappas of the DNR to come up with these alternatives. Part of the discussion, and Ms. Seeger is correct, you could theoretically go taller. That's harder to do because that would require a lot of different types of things to happen. So you'd either trade buildings that are all two-story buildings that are 25 feet, maybe 30 maximum height. You'd be trading those for maybe 80-foot towers, just for the benefit of reducing your impact on wetland from the 671 square feet, which includes 140 square feet permanently, which is akin to four basically concrete culverts, 4 pads basically on either end of the wetland on those 2 crossings in an area that already was previously crossed by Nature's Nook decades ago. They're simply following what was previously done. This was actually at the behest in part of DNR to basically use what was already there, and they did, and they designed around it and modified their design based on what Nature's Nook had previously done without a permit. So they are essentially following the previous disturbance, and so the additional impact is relatively small, and it's mostly of temporary nature just because they have to do some kind of grading in order to get the road through the roadway connections through those 2 areas. So that's the primary impact, is the temporary impacts that would be mitigated through seed mixes and other types of measures to try to restore whatever was disturbed. We're talking about really about 142 square feet, which is about 70% of a parking space.
Yeah. About 3 times the size of that table.
Yeah.
That should take care of that question from the constituent. Any other questions? Is there a motion to recommend approval of fiduciary real estate development, natural resource features special exception pursuant to the standards, findings and decisions recommended by the Plan Commission and the Common Council considerations of the Environmental Commission recommendations? Sorry. Moved and seconded. Any discussion of motion? All those in favor? Geez, I'm having a stroke or something. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
For the record, that was 4 ayes, no noes, 2 absent. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is business matter Rock Sports Complex Area Challenge Tower Installation within PDD 37. Mr. Martinez.
Good evening. This is the challenge tower that was approved 2 years ago in the Ballpark Commons development, just next to the ski chalet. So this is the original site plan that was approved. The applicant is proposing to relocate the challenge tower 50 feet south of the approved location. Staff reviewed the application. We're recommending approval. Just would like to know that the applicant withdrew the other application for the yurt that was also previously approved, but the applicant is not pursuing that part of the application. Yeah, according to the applicant, this new location will avoid conflict with utilities. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I apologize, Mike or Rick?
Mike Schmitz, Roxano Park. Yeah, so I guess,
Give
as
us,
Regulo said, we're
Mike, give
proposing.
us your name and address, please.
Oh, Mike Schmitz, Roxano Park. My home address? Ballpark Commons. Not even sure. 7011 South Ballpark Drive. So, as Regulo mentioned, we were approved for this tower 2 years ago, have yet to construct it, and are proposing to move it directly south 50 feet. That's the only change.
And the purpose of the change, Regulo mentioned the utilities.
Yeah, so as we laid it out in relation to our tubing operation in the winter, we realized it was going to be a pinch point. So that was really the primary reason for the move.
I did receive a phone call from Mr. Zimmerman this afternoon. He had not seen these plans and expressed to me a concern that this would be more obtrusive in its new location and did not provide him an opportunity to, and I'm speaking for him, so take it with a grain of salt, all right?
Yep.
Did not allow him the opportunity to landscape it to minimize the appearance as well as the original location. So I have some thoughts on what to do with that, but questions from the commission for the applicant. Mr. Engineer.
So I guess my comment was I actually like this location better. I think it would work nicer, at least from what I imagined what it was going to look like before. So I guess I don't understand. Is it the smaller building there, the one that you see in the middle of the picture? That is not the main place.
Correct.
That's the place where like you rent skis or something, right?
Correct. The main chalet is the far left of the screen there.
So can you further describe pinch point? So how was it? Is it for people walking from there to the umbrella bar area?
So at the top of the screen is basically the top of our tubing area. So in the wintertime, the conveyor unloads up there. People grab their tube, get ready to slide down the hill. So the other location was a little too close to the ski slope or the tubing slope.
I see.
This is the other
That's the other.
previous location.
Right.
And I'm not sure what he means by the buffer.
Well, let me offer this suggestion. It's been 2 years since the approval. It's not up yet. My request is that the commission sends this back to staff so that the applicant can go meet with the landowner, get it worked out, and have both of them come back and say, yeah, okay. That's what I would prefer. But
motion
I
to
do have a
kind of,
vote, but I'm not going to use
is
it.
there a rush why it needs to be decided tonight?
We'd like to get it built, but other than that, no, I can certainly do that. So what, it would, we'd come back in a month or how?
We meet every 2 weeks.
Okay,
Back 2 weeks. is
We
fine.
can table this till the next meeting.
okay.
Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Commissioner Leone. All those in favor of the motion to table till the next meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks.
May 5, I believe.
And the next business item is V2, which is a temporary use application by Jacqueline Barrett for a food truck for Home Depot. Home Depot?
Home Depot, yes.
Mr. Martinez.
Yeah, similar to the application we have last week for another food truck in Menard. So this for a food truck, well, it's a micro mobile kitchen. It's smaller than a food truck. It's just 6 by 4 feet. Will be located in the Home Depot parking lot. So that's the location. It will occupy 4 parking spaces. I mean, the micro mobile kitchen itself, the towing vehicle, and the folding table. This has to go to before the Plan Commission because the period of operation is more than 30 days. So it will be from June 6 to August 29. And staff is recommending approval subject to the conditions set forth in the resolution.
Questions from the commission? Commissioner Leone.
The only question I have to staff, I was a bit confused why the Oak Creek Health Department has a letter in here.
Yes, because the Oak Creek license is also valid in Franklin. We checked that with the health department.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Is there a motion to adopt a resolution imposing conditions and restrictions for the approval of temporary use for Jack's Wheel Food Micro Mobile Kitchen operation in the parking lot of Home Depot store located at 6489 South 27th Street?
So moved. Second.
Burkhart and Leone. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Give that to Haley and Leone. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Oh, it's food trucks. I think for a big real decision, they should bring in supper.
Well, there's the menu, the packet.